What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Nerds here on the 5-on-5 Podcast Network. I'm Brock Beirman alongside, as always, with Dawson Livingston. And busy week last week for us. Weren't able to get in an episode, but we're here back to give our final, overall reactions to the NFL draft. I know Dawson's been enjoying what the Chiefs did. I assume so. I mean, I think they got a steal in the first round, and overall they had a good draft. I think the Cardinals had a good draft as well when looking at our two teams that we look at. But Dawson, we got to talk about, obviously, we probably should keep what we won't talk about this too much, but we like to talk about Iowa and Iowa State a little bit on this pod. But a punter from the University of Iowa goes before any Iowa State player. And I know you probably want to rub that in a little bit, but are you so TJ Tampa from Iowa State fell, and obviously it was a little bit of a shock to most people because I mean, heck, I think he was supposed to be some people had him borderline first. A lot of people had him easily second round, maybe third at the latest. And the dude just unfortunately kept dropping. And I mean, what are your reactions? Were you shocked how far he went? Because I mean, he was number one on the board, number one best available player for a lot of draft experts for the longest time.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that. I don't think kind of the reason is he didn't really test well, athletic wise. Like, didn't have the fastest board. He didn't really wasn't really eye popping in any of his athletic scores. So I think that's why teams got a little wary and he started to slide down people's boards. He went to a great place in Baltimore. Like he's going to be used. He's going to be alongside Marlon Humphrey and going to be in that secondary with Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton. Like he's going to be able to learn from those guys and maybe develop into the other boundary corner that Baltimore desperately needs. But other than that, I mean, yeah, it sucks that he went to the fourth round, but at the end of the day, if I'm a draft pick, I'm more worried about fit over necessarily like what pick I'm going to be drafted to, if that makes sense.
Yep. And I mean, he will lose out on some, money, of course, but when it comes to really trying to make a name for yourself, maybe playing on a better team and being in a better scheme that fits your style play better is the better option, because if you're playing well, you're going to get that second contract anyway. So it doesn't really matter about the first one. It's all about trying to get to that second one. And so, yeah, TJ falls to the fourth round, 130th pick to the Baltimore Ravens. And then Cooper DeJean fell a little bit too. And he ended up going ended up going into the second round, if I remember correctly. And then the greatest punter in the world, not named Pat McAfee, Tory Taylor, gets drafted to the Chicago Bears, which I think is absolutely funny because they just drafted a quarterback number one overall, and then they backed him up with a good wide receiver, and then they still drafted a punter. Are you shocked how, that Tory Taylor even got drafted, let alone how early he got drafted?
I'm not shocked he got drafted. I am shocked that he went fourth round. I was thinking sixth or seventh round. But maybe Chicago felt the need, hey, maybe if we let him slide one more round, he's not going to be there. A team's going to scoop him up. And I mean, I'm an Iowa fan. I watched every single game that Tory Taylor was in. Tory Taylor was the Iowa Hawkeyes' best player last year. And no disrespect to Cooper DeJean, no disrespect to anyone on that defense. Tory Taylor was the reason we won like 3 or 4 games. When you can have a guy that can just pin the ball inside the 5 yard line consistently, and he's great at directional punts. I mean, that's a huge asset to your special teams. So I think the Bears, like, it caught me off guard at first, but the more I realized it, I'm like, damn, that's a pretty good pick for Chicago.
And I mean, and you can correct me if you feel differently, but I feel like the Bears offense is definitely going to be a little bit better than the Bears defense heading into this year. So when the offense may struggle, having that punter where you could literally set up the defense for success, literally like the University of Iowa did so many times over the years of Tory Taylor playing for them. I mean, it's a recipe for success for the Bears.
I mean, they just drafted the punter with, I believe, the most punting yards ever in the history of college football. If that
He's coming
doesn't
for the
show you
NFL
how
record.
much he was involved in wins and losses, I don't know what does.
Like, I know Iowa fans joke about Iowa and Iowa State fans kind of joke about it, and so does kind of the whole world of college football. but like Iowa State fans realize how big of a deal Tory Taylor was to the Hawks. And so the fact that he's going to a team that has a good offense, he might not be, I think will have a good offense. Uh, might not need him as much, but those few punts maybe per game that you have to worry about Tory Taylor handling the ball could potentially help the Bears get out of close games or get out of games where the offense isn't moving the ball. But yeah, those were the two things, two two or three major storylines with the Iowa State connections involving the NFL draft. And I mean, I'm not worried about TJ Tampa. And I mean, Cooper DeJean also went to a great franchise in terms of trying for best fit. You don't think so?
I just don't like the Eagles, so it's
Yeah,
hard
well,
for
like,
me to support Cooper
I don't
DeJean
like
right now.
anybody in that division,
Yeah.
so I don't blame you. But team name aside, if you looked at the
Mhm.
roster and it didn't have a team name, you'd be like, yeah, Cooper DeJean probably wants to be on this team because they're going to be successful or should be successful. I mean, last year was probably a disappointing year for them, but any other like major picks or names that you want to talk about? I do want to talk about Spencer Rattler a little bit, but I do want to get your feel for someone that probably paid attention to the draft a little more than me because I honestly I was watching it like just in the background, and every time there was a pick, I was looking to see if TJ got drafted, and then after TJ got drafted, I was like, okay, we're good, and turned it off.
Um, Other than that, I mean, like you said, you were happy with your Cardinals draft. I was really happy with the way Kansas City draft. Kansas City got some good players on offense, and really only players that are going to help their offense with. They drafted a tight end in the fourth round, and they drafted a left tackle in the second round. So I think it's only going to help their offense this year, and maybe they can get back to that top five form that we saw 2 years ago. But no, other than that, I don't really have that much else to say.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, the Cardinals needed to get a wide receiver, and of course they did with Marvin Harrison. And I mean, you convinced me that it would have been okay if they moved back because I'm pretty sure they would have gotten a Dunze or something like that as a wide receiver either way. But they did move back. They also ended up getting a couple of defensive players that I feel like will be great for the Cardinals heading into next year. Got an edge rusher from Missouri as well as a corner from Rutgers. They also got a running back, which I mean, not many people are going to think about it, but James Conner's getting up there in age for the Cardinals, and he can't. I mean, he's getting hurt every year. I think he's been out at least one or two games, if not more. I know 2 years ago he was out the majority of the season. So Cardinals even looking at a running back is a good sign that they're looking towards the future. But I enjoyed their draft. I think the Eagles also, whether we want to admit it or not, had a good draft. They boosted that defense, especially a defense that I feel like is getting a little on the older side. So now that they're getting some younger guys and some guys that I think that can make an impact right away is a good thing for them. And another team that I feel like we should mention, though, Pittsburgh, I feel like had actually a pretty decent draft when you look at who they needed. Because let's be honest, that offense needed anything and everything, especially on the offensive line. If you're going to be able to run an offense with Russell Wilson in today's NFL, it's not Russell Wilson from 2012 where you can just rely on him scrambling all the time. Getting some offensive linemen, which they did, I think they got a tackle and a center, will help this offense, as well as I think they got a wide receiver, if not two, if I'm mistaken. Nope, only got one. And then they helped out the defense a little bit. So those were the three teams that were on my radar for teams that did pretty well. I heard that I don't know whether it's confirmed or not, but like the Patriots were offered a lot for Drake May, and I think two of the teams that were involved in that were the Giants and the Vikings. Obviously, two teams that probably would have loved to taken him. And I think the Giants, I can't remember the connections, but I think two of the staff members were a part of the move to get Josh Allen for the Bills. And the fact that Drake Mays compared to Josh Allen is a sign that if they are trying to trade up for him, they must see the exact same thing that they see in Josh. I mean, yeah, that they saw in Josh a couple years ago. So the Patriots made a good move, I'm starting to think, with getting Drake May. Now, is he in the best situation? We talk about, is it better to get drafted early or be in a better position? He's not in a good position. I know we talked. I don't know if we talked on the air or off the air about this, about Debo potentially getting traded there because there was rumors about the 49ers making a move with the um, Patriots. That would have helped greatly with the Drake May situation. However, he's going to have to deal with the guys that New England's got right now. What do you think overall about any other teams specifically that you want to talk about?
One other team that I remember that had a draft that I really enjoyed was Detroit's. They
Mhm.
really addressed their top two needs for me. They got some corners in the first and second round, and then they were able to shore up that offense with some extra offensive tackles, and they got another running back. But the main part for me is they got arguably the best corner in the draft at pick 24, I want to say. And then they came around in the second round and drafted another corner out of Missouri. I really like their draft. I mean, one of Detroit's hugest weaknesses last year was corner and that side of the ball. And this offseason, they've addressed that need. So hopefully this upcoming season, the Lions can come back to the NFC title game like they're hoping. They have the offense to do it. Now hopefully they have the defense. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. That NFC North, man, is brutal now. That is easily the toughest division. Maybe with the AFC North, but that division is just going to be absolutely brutal this year.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. I think anyone has a chance to win it, depending. I think the team that I have the least confidence in is probably the Vikings, if I'm being completely honest. But JJ McCarthy could prove me completely wrong. And here we are heading into the final week, and literally every game would matter. I could see that potentially happening where all four teams are in a playoff position or a wild card spot, and the winner of the division is going to be the one that ends up going to the playoffs. And I think they're going to just beat each other up. And similar, like you said, the AFC North, the AFC West is still pretty difficult. I feel like, even though Kansas City kind of owns everybody, and the Chargers, I was a little, I was wondering what they were going to do heading into the draft because I felt like they could have done a lot on the offensive side. They obviously got Joe Alt from Notre Dame on the offensive line, which was a total Harbaugh move, and then they got a wide receiver in the second round from Georgia, and I mean they finished the draft by getting a running back and two more wide receivers. And for a team that I feel like their wide receiver room is kind of bare, is not a bad move because you can just find guys to plug in depending on the situation. And I would say if I was a Chargers fan, because I know a couple weeks ago I said like if I was the Chargers, they're gonna be completely terrible this year. Which I mean, talent wise, if somehow this Chargers team does better than last year's Chargers team, I'll be shocked because talent wise, it's not the same whatsoever. However, they have made moves that if I was a Chargers fan, I wouldn't be completely upset about.
The Chargers took one player that I desperately wanted in Kansas City if Kansas City didn't go with Worthy, and they took my boy Lad McConkey. So I was pretty upset about that when I saw him go in the second round. But no, I hate saying it, but they had a good draft. I know everyone's going to fault them for picking Joe Alt at number 5 when they could have had Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to protect your franchise quarterback up front, and then you can worry about your weapons afterwards. Um, yeah, like you said, they drafted some receivers and running backs late. Didn't they draft Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice, in the 6th or 7th round?
Yep. Yes, they did.
So he had some talent when he was at Colorado and then transferred to USC. We'll see if he can be an impact player year one or maybe later on down the line. But no, I really like the Chargers draft, and that's come from a Chiefs fan where it's painful to say that.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. I Again, like I said, I think that if they outperform what last year's team did, it will shock me a little bit. But it's the NFL. I expected the Cardinals to have two top 10 picks heading in the year, and they ended up having top 5 and a top
30.
20, yeah, top 30 because the Texans were unbelievable this year. But real quick, I mentioned his name, Spencer Rattler. I didn't expect him to go really anywhere before late fourth, anyways. But it seemed like the guys on TV were making it a bigger deal that he did fall to the fifth. Did you see the report of why he fell so far?
Wasn't it because the Netflix, the like,
Yes.
I don't even
So
remember the Netflix special he was on, but yeah, I
so
think it was
he
something with that.
in high school, he was on a Netflix special called QB1. I think it was like QB1 Beyond the Lights or something like that. And it followed all these different high school quarterbacks throughout their senior year of high school and like where they're going to commit, just to show like the behind the scenes idea of, I don't know, the high school quarterback life of when you're getting drafted, when you're getting recruited by top colleges. And I mean, Spencer Rattler was one of the top quarterback prospects in the last 10 years, I feel like, or at least the hype coming into this first year. And a lot of that I feel like is because of this series. And this series, I'm not going to lie, did not paint him well. I've watched every season that they had, and it did not paint Spencer Rattler as a very humble, very nice kind of guy. Paint him as a egotistical, it's my way or the highway kind of quarterback, which when it what NFL teams don't want, especially if they're a late fourth, fifth round pick, and went to Oklahoma, had a good first year with Oklahoma. I don't think people remember that, like heading into his second year, a lot of people thought he could be a sleeper for the Heisman Trophy. Of course, Caleb Williams came in, took his spot. Little did we know that Caleb Williams would end up being unbelievable. So, but transferred to South Carolina, I felt like had a very good uh, final 2 years of his career with the Gamecocks, but fell all the way to the fifth round to New Orleans, who I think he could potentially get a playing opportunity with this franchise, because I don't know if they're really sold on anybody that they have in their quarterback room right now. But yeah, I don't know if you've never seen this show before.
No, the Netflix one that I watch is Last Chance U. I
Okay.
watched the football and I've watched the basketball one, but I haven't seen QB1.
So some of the notable names from this show, and I've watched all the seasons, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad show, but sometimes it doesn't paint the quarterbacks very well, or it shows people exactly who they are. Which, I mean, it's reality TV, so you can take what you want with that. But Jake Fromm, I mean, played for Georgia. He was in that national championship game against Alabama. I think that Tua showed up in, or when we were
Hmm.
introduced to Tua. Tate Martell, I don't know if you remember who he is.
I do remember who Tate Martell
Okay.
went to Ohio State and then like Miami and then didn't he just get out of college football like a year or two
Yep.
ago?
He was at UNLV. That was his last stop. He's from the Las Vegas area. He was another guy that kind of like was painted like as an ego guy, but again, it's high schoolers, and when you're one of the top recruits in the world, it's kind of hard to not, show off a little bit. Season 2, we got some interesting names on this one. Justin Fields and Sam Hartman
Oh
were two
man,
guys that were on there.
yeah.
And
Hartman just got picked up somewhere. I don't know what
I
team
can't
though.
remember where he would have gotten picked up from, but obviously two guys that a lot of people know and have had opportunities in the NFL. Real Mitchell, who committed to Iowa State, ended up transferring to Temple and then finished his career in San Diego, was another guy. He was the guy that a lot of people from Iowa State were looking at when he was coming in because of this show. And it's kind of funny when Purdy played his first ever game, a lot of people were confused why Real wasn't getting in, because the a lot of people knew who Real Mitchell was heading into the year because of the show and everything. But obviously, Matt Campbell knew what he was doing by putting in Purdy over Real Mitchell. And then season 3 was with Spencer Rattler. There was two other guys that they were okay, but they both like transferred. I think one of them went to Samford after committing to Kentucky. Was never really legit. Season 4, though, I think this was the final season they did. Uh, Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young,
Wow.
and holy crap, I don't think that's real. Okay, I got to do some. I got to do some research. If that's real, I don't know why I've never realized that. Um, Holy crap. Why didn't I know that he was on here? Do you know Deuce Hogan was on it?
No.
I might have to.
Iowa legend Deuce Hogan.
I might have to go back and rewatch this. I do not remember Deuce Hogan being in this. That's that. Hmm. Huh.
Wow, he is. That's crazy.
That shocked me. Okay. Well, Deuce Hogan was in it too. So some interesting names, some big names, some
For
names.
those of you that aren't like super in tune with Iowa and Iowa State that are listening right now, Deuce Hogan was committed to Iowa, was under I think the 2021 season, and we all know how Iowa fans know how bad that offense was that year. And eventually transferred out because Kirk wouldn't give him an opportunity in the Nebraska game, even though like we saw Petrus and Padilla play very poorly in those games. Eventually transferred out. I don't even know where Hogan's at now.
I think
Is
he
he
transferred
at?
to Kentucky, but I don't know if he's still there. Let's look. Um, I mean, he's still on their roster. Oh, wait. I think I found his Instagram. He is
New
now,
Mexico State?
yep, New Mexico State. So,
That's crazy. Huh.
I have not heard that name in a while. That actually shocks me
No.
a little bit. So Deuce Hogan was on this QB1 show. I might want to go back and see if I can find these episodes because I don't remember him being in it. But just some names, and I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, they didn't necessarily paint Spencer Rattler as a nice guy or a humble guy. And when you're going to Oklahoma or when you're going to go play for Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, Lincoln Riley has a track record. A lot of his guys aren't humble anyways. So you can take what you will with that. But he fell to the Saints, and I'm not gonna lie, I think that's a good fit with him. Who knows what that Saints team's gonna do with their quarterback room. I think Taysom Hill is still on the roster. I don't know how he still has a job. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. Taysom Hill is like Jeremy Lin of the NFL, whereas like for like a month and a half, everybody was like, this guy can do everything. And then now it's just like, okay, he's still here and he's not really doing anything that's like impressive.
He's good at everything. He's not great at anything.
And
Is
I guess that's all you need to be in life.
I guess. Like you said, I have no idea how he's still on the Saints. I don't even think he's listed as a quarterback. I think he's still listed as a tight end.
That's a joke. I tell you
But
what.
I don't think the Saints are going to be very good next year, meaning that they could potentially play him later on the season, and we'll see. They still have Alvin Kamara. Who knows what he's going to be? I think he's going into year 8. So running backs when they get up there in age, we'll see if they're that productive. I know they got a couple other receivers that I'm blanking on right now for some reason. Oh, line's going to be a question. I know that they're potentially are going to be out Ryan Ramczyk, so that he might be out for the year, but he's definitely going to have an opportunity to play it because I just don't believe the Saints are going to be very good next year.
How okay, before I show this, how much do you think the Kansas City Chiefs need another wide receiver at all?
I think they should sign a veteran because it sounds like Rashid Rice is going to be suspended for at least half the season with this incident. And I don't think you can go out there week 1 like confidently with a guy who's never played in your system before and a rookie wide receiver that's never played in your system before. Maybe I saw this thrown out there the other day. Maybe they just re-sign MVS, even though everyone did not
Do
like him. But he knows the system. He's gonna be familiar with the offense and how we run it.
you want
I
a
don't
high
know.
risk, high reward guy?
Yeah, I think you just live with the consequences till week 8 or week 9.
I got a high risk, high reward guy for you.
Let's see it.
Hakeem Butler from the St. Louis Battlehawks, dude. I'm telling you, I don't know how many people are paying attention to the UFL, but Hakeem Butler is absolutely going off for the Battlehawks this year. This is just last week's game, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. The week before, I think, was 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. You want like a Swiss Army, like just a guy that would absolutely help this team because you got a bunch of speedy guys. Now you just need
Mhm.
this long, physical wide receiver, and Hakeem Butler is exactly that.
What's crazy is I remember, um, what was he eligible for the draft? 5 years ago, 2019. Does that
Yep,
sound right?
around there.
And I had seen mocks of Kansas City taking him in the first, second round. I'm like, I'd be okay with that. I mean, he's what 6'4", 6'5". He's a 50-50 ball guy. He's gonna go up and get it no matter what DB's on him. But then didn't he got drafted by Arizona, correct?
Drafted by Arizona, broke his hand. I don't know what happened that led to them releasing him, but he ended up getting released. Um, I don't know how much he bounced around. I knew he was in the Eagles system at one point as a
I think
tight
the
end.
Steelers as well.
He was in the Steelers system last spring. No, like the last time I saw him like legit play was the Eagles. And I think it was, I don't know if you remember this, but like the Eagles had like no tight ends at one point,
Hmm.
to the point where they were just signing whoever they could get, and he was one of the guys. But NFL teams need to, like, I know that's the UFL, it's not the same level, but like he's playing with a quarterback that has a lot of NFL experience in AJ McCarron. I mean, AJ I think started a couple games last year for the Bengals because Joe Burrow was out with his injury, obviously. What?
That was Jake Browning.
I
Other,
swear AJ played some games.
mm, I'll double check, but I'm fairly confident it was.
Man, I swear I thought AJ McCarron played some games. Now I'm curious too.
All right, I'm gonna look this up really quick. We're gonna get to the bottom.
If you threw a pass, I count that as playing. That's all he needs is one pass.
Oh man, you beat me. He did play last season. He had
He
four
he played
completions.
four completions. There you go. I'll take that.
Four
But
completions.
even then, like he's played what, a
He's been in the
handful,
league for 7 NFL seasons
and he's got
where he's
experience.
played.
It's not
Yeah.
like a lot of experience, but it's experience nonetheless. And having a, I think when looking at, not that NFL teams are looking closely at the UFL, because a lot of these guys probably won't play a lot if they were signed to the NFL roster. But when you're looking at wide receivers, I feel like you want to see who their quarterback is. And the fact that the quarterback that he has, I think, has the most NFL experience out of all the guys that are starting in the UFL. I mean, heck, Adrian Martinez is a starting quarterback in the UFL right now, which, by the way, that team I think is either still undefeated or only has one loss. So anybody that's going to hate on Adrian Martinez needs to shut their mouths, because he's actually pretty good. He's pretty good in a good system. It's just that Nebraska, not so much. Um, but I'm telling you, someone needs to pick up Hakeem Butler, and it's not someone that you need to throw to 11 times a game. But like every once in a while, out of nowhere, he could be someone that makes huge plays for franchises that are looking to compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, you did a good job selling me right there. I think he should probably get another shot at the NFL. Honestly, the first team that popped in my mind when I was starting to think of teams is why wouldn't a team like Buffalo or Miami like give him a call? Buffalo has no wide receivers on their roster right now. They just signed Chase Claypool, which is
Elite,
probably yeah,
elite.
yeah, he's probably a little too similar, like stylistically to Hakeem Butler, just a big receiver that's going to go up and get it. But what about Miami? They got, like you said, they with Kansas City, they have a bunch of little, smaller receivers that are fast and can run up and down the field. They just signed OBJ. Maybe you just signed Hakeem Butler to get some variety in that room. Then you have Tyreek, you have Waddle, OBJ, Mr. Braxton Berrios, like all those guys like, with Hakeem Butler.
I just think I he's not fast, but he's very strong. I think he's had 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, over 40, 45 yards um, downfield. And one of them was like an 80-yard with like 50 of it being yak. So teams need to look at him. I think he'd be a steal. Again, someone that you could throw to maybe like 5 times over a span of 3 weeks, but like you have plays designated for him, kind of thing. But yeah, anything else before we switch over? Because our podcast, we look at uniforms, so we're definitely going to be looking at some uniforms this week. But anything before that?
Um, Oh, now we're at kind of the dead point of the NFL season with the draft being done.
It
I
sucks.
think rookie mini camp's going on right now the next few days. So things won't really even start to pick up until July, August, somewhere that range. Hopefully by then, NCAA will be all the way out and be playing that this summer. But I don't really have anything else to say right now.
I am so excited for NCAA. I mean, we'll have to do a podcast where we review the game. My older brother is looking at getting a new Xbox because NCAA is coming out, and he has a PlayStation 4 right now. But I told him I don't have they confirmed whether or not cross play is going to be a thing.
Um, I don't know. I if it's in Madden, I don't see why it can't be an NCAA. At least with like franchise,
That's
like
yeah.
I don't really care about playing online people
Mm.
and on other consoles. That's like I'm indifferent about that. But when it comes to like um Dynasty,
Oh yeah.
if I want to be able to play with my buddy who's got a PS5, I feel like I should be able to. I don't know. Let me actually double check.
Okay, because I told my brother I was like, "Yo, when this comes out, because I think he I think signed for a new house, so he's gonna be moving out before the end of October, and so he's like, we're gonna have to grind out some NCAA football. I was like, I don't know if it's crossplay, but dude, I'm telling you that online dynasty, super excited for that. Like that dynasty, um, road to glory. I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm cautious because this game hasn't been out for 10 years, so who knows what exactly is all going to be on it. But yeah, I know for sure when it does come out, I think I might have a couple sick days depending on when the release actually is.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something, but I don't think that they've officially announced.
And it might be one of those things where it's not this year because they're more worried about getting the game like as perfected as it can be for because I think they started from scratch because they admitted that they're not
Hmm.
using Madden's engine.
Good,
So uh
good.
yeah, they said that they're not wanting to make it look like Madden, and that's a really, really good thing. And I tell you what, Madden might be in trouble if this game actually is as good as it's looking like it's going to be.
So I found something. So apparently, um, it, the game popped into the Xbox store. You can't like pre-order
Yeah.
it or do any of that, but they have like the description and in the player modes, it does say Xbox cross-platform multiplayer.
Okay.
So maybe that's a good sign whether or not there will be crossplay, but man, that would suck if there wouldn't be crossplay. We're in 2024 and we can't have crossplay across all games. It doesn't really make much sense to me.
Which school are you going to be taking?
The last dynasty I did it was Western Kentucky, and that one was a lot of fun. I tried an Old Dominion one. That one was real. That one was way too tough because Old Dominion's like a 61 overall in NCAA
Mm,
14. Probably James Madison. Give me the Dukes
that's
because
what I
James
was going to
Madison's
say.
probably
James
going to be
Madison's
new this
fun.
year, and they have never been in the game. Might as well give them a shot as
Them
the
or
host
App
team.
State. That's what I was looking at.
Hmm.
Um, Sam Houston's ugly stadium's going to be in the game. That stadium's ugly. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it?
I think I have.
If I remember correctly, let me look it up.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, it is not. It's not. It literally looks like they built the stadium into the ground, and it's just
Yeah.
not ideal. It's not ideal. But super excited for that game. It's gonna be a blast. It doesn't even need to be like unbelievable. It just needs to be good. But from the clips and the interviews and all the stuff that I've seen, it seems like they've put a lot of work into it. So we'll see. But we're gonna obviously end this episode by looking at some jerseys. And Dawson thinks I'm gonna start with Iowa State, and actually, I'm not gonna start with Iowa State.
Ooh, pump fake.
I'm gonna start with the jerseys that I think are probably going to be the jerseys of the year in college football when it comes to alternates. I don't know if you've seen these, but what West Virginia came out with, I think I don't know what they're calling these. Let me look it up. But it's like a coal. It's supposed to be styled off of like coal mining and stuff like that. There's detail in the helmets. If I had more photos, I would. But let me look real quick. What are your early reactions on these?
I like the helmet stripe down the middle. I think that's really cool, and the shoulder area where it kind of looks like coal or something. And I
Yep.
can't tell, is that a white or is that like a gray? A
It's
gray
supposed
with
to be
like
gray with like a white trim around the number.
okay.
Yeah, but from the sounds of it, they wanted to pay homage to the history of coal and the miners in the Mountain State, and So they put a lot of detail into this jersey. I mean, even the helmet stripe has like it looks more grungy than Cole related, but
Hmm.
like the stripe has some detail to it. If I was able to zoom in, I would. Obviously, the pads on the sides have a little bit of the same look but different shade. I think these look amazing. I'm not gonna lie, they look without the detail, they'd look almost exactly like Iowa State's black unis. But either way, I still love these.
I like that he's actually holding coal. I just realized that he's
Yep.
like holding globs of coal in his hand.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, not everybody just does a uni reveal in front of a white background, which is not
Yeah.
foreshadowing what I'm about to show. But no, they did a lot of. You can tell they put a lot of work into getting this put together, and I love it. I think it looks clean. You need to go up against a team for sure that doesn't have a lot of black in their color scheme. So literally, like Kansas, Oklahoma. Well, I guess not Oklahoma because they're not in the conference anymore. Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State, K State. So like teams that don't have
Houston.
Houston. Well, even Houston's starting to like add more black to their jerseys. I mean, it's
Hmm.
not in their logo, but they. I feel like that's the thing. What people don't know is that just because it's not in the logo doesn't mean that it's not an official color of the university's branding. And Houston definitely uses black a lot. I mean, I
Houston
think
uses blue too for some
yes,
reason. They use
aren't
that baby blue.
I think they just got in trouble for that,
They said they're gonna wear them no matter what because
which
it
is
was
amazing.
the Titans, who formerly the Houston Oilers, reached out to him I think last year or 2 years ago saying, "Hey, like you can't really wear these uniforms. They're way too similar to what ours were when we repped the throwback Oilers." And I think it was the AD of Houston that just said, "We're just going to keep wearing them and
Mhm.
just incur whatever consequences ensue."
Let me see if I can pull these up because I forgot about the Houston jerseys. So these are the jerseys that Houston is going to wear against what Tennessee said, and I think these are clean. I love
Hmm.
baby blue looks so good. Old Miss has some of the best unis in college football,
They do.
and the fact that Houston's bringing these out, ooh, they're really cool. I love them. I love the font too. That it's like kind of a grunge, not a grunge look, but more than just Houston with black letters. It's actually putting
Hmm.
effort into it. I guess more like a alternative script look, but I love these unis. I love West Virginia's black unis that they're bringing out. Um, Now I want your opinion, obviously, on Iowa State's announcement of their new unis heading into the fall. So these are the red ones that they debuted, and I mean, it's pretty much exactly what we thought they were going to look like based off of the renderings that people were posting on social media. But what
I
early thoughts?
I mean I like them. I don't think they got worse. The only difference is if you, that first one, does it not look like the jersey red is different from the helmet red?
Okay, so from what I've been told is that there was a filter put on these photos. Who
Okay.
knows how who knows how true that is? But yes, the helmets look a little darker. They're on the reds. The red Cardinal helmets look a little darker than the jersey tops, which if that's the case, I'm a little concerned on what they're going to look like in person because I'm not a big fan of two different shades for helmets and jerseys.
It could be too that they're ordering new helmets. I mean, I'm,
Yep.
I'm not within the Iowa State athletic facility,
What
but
do
it
you
could
know
be they're
that I
ordering
don't
new
know?
helmets and they wanted to get this photo shoot out there, and they just like, hey, we're just gonna use our old ones from last year, and
Yeah,
then when the new ones come in, we'll do something else.
I love the look. I think this is the best one out of all. Like I like the white helmet over the red.
Hmm.
Um, the font is a little different than what we've had in past years. I know there's some people that are upset about that. They can argue with a wall. The fact that they went with a white font over a yellow is great because me from a broadcaster perspective, a dark gold over red is not appealing, and you can barely read the numbers from far distances. So having the white font is going to look a lot cleaner. It's going to pop more so you can tell who exactly has the numbers. But I like the stripes on the side. I don't know. It like you said, it reminds me of the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's why I don't mind them. What do you think about teams putting the name in the front of their jersey?
I'm not I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, if unless it looks like super ugly, then I will hate it. The one that stands out to me is if you've ever seen those Michigan State uniforms where
Oh
it's
God,
state
yeah,
even across the shoulder pads, like clear over here, like
it's
that.
disgusting.
I don't ever need to see that again. Like I'm okay with this. Something that's simple like this, where it's not taking too much attention away from the actual like jersey um itself, I think is fine. But I mean, I watch two football teams that have nothing on the front of their jerseys, so maybe that's why my viewpoint's a little skewed. So
Yeah, why do you cheer for two of the most boomerish football teams
that
in the
never
world?
change the uniforms.
And
Iowa fans get excited to no end when Iowa releases uniforms once every 4 years.
yep, I'm
I
telling you,
mean,
people can say what they want. Those banana uniforms were so nice. I love those. I think they were cool. My
the,
personal opinion.
they weren't one of my favorites that they released. The Ohio State ones will always have a special place
Yeah.
right here, and then the I'm trying to think, was it either the Penn State ones that were all gold with the little black stripes?
Mhm.
Those ones were cool too. If you know which ones I'm talking about, those ones are pretty cool.
And then obviously you got the white look. I think this is gonna be the primary look for the white road unis. It's pretty much the same thing, just reversing the font color with the jersey. I think it looks clean as well. Again, I don't think these are bad jerseys whatsoever. The one thing I am a little concerned with, and I would love to get your opinion. So they debuted or re-debuted these gold pants, and I don't. I will need to see them live because if they did put a filter on these photos, then it makes a little more sense. But the gold pants look a little brighter than the gold trim or the gold stripes, which is not ideal. Like you mentioned with the helmets, like I think the consistency needs to be there.
Mhm. Yeah, honestly, I need to see for me what helmet they would wear with this. I would assume it'd be, correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't it be the white one or would they wear
I
the
think they
red?
would. I think they would wear the cardinal.
Okay. In that case, I mean, yeah, the yellow does look a little off. Like you said, we won't really know what these jerseys really look like until they're on a football field, and we can see
Oh
how
yeah,
like they.
those Jack Trice uniforms were amazing last year on photos, and then they came out and played in them,
And
and it
it
looked like
looked
they
like
weren't
everyone was
wearing.
running around with no
Yeah,
pants on.
no pants on, and you got offensive linemen with way oversized shirts. It looked like they were wearing skirts because they didn't have any pants that looked like they were wearing pants.
Mhm.
But yeah, I it's one of those things where it's like I think it might grow on me. I will say the one thing I'm disappointed about is that the pants have no stripes, no character to it, and I feel
Yeah.
like with this design there needs to be something to make it pop a little more. I mean, pants nowadays in football are so short, anyways. A lot of people on these comments for these photos were like, "Why are they wearing shorts?" And I was like, "That's just kind of the style that people wear nowadays."
I was gonna say you never really see receivers, any skill position guy, receivers, running backs, corners, safeties. They're never wearing their shoulder or their pants on their knees anymore. They're always tucked up. They'll hide their knee pad that way
Yep.
they don't get in trouble with the referee.
But I was like, I don't know if there needs to be like a quarter or a half stripe coming from the bottom of the pants up, but they just kind of look plain, and I'm not really sold on them. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I just realized that now. Are all the pants like
No,
plain?
yeah, all plain.
Gotcha.
So, but obviously, then you get the black unis, but this time they debuted a black uni with the white
The
helmets.
white helmet is. I'm not gonna lie. That's more eye appealing to me.
Yes. Um, so here for those that are watching the stream, and those listening to the podcast, you can go and find our stream to see these photos. But this looks better than the
All blacks.
all blacks. The white helmet looks way cleaner. It pops more. The jersey just looks more appealing to me than the all blacks. The all blacks look fine. I'm a fan of the all blacks. I hate the people that complain about Iowa State wearing black. I know you're an Iowa fan, so you probably don't mind. You probably hate it too, but it's whatever. I hate the people that complain about Iowa State wearing black. It's whatever. This would be my preference though. The white helmet, black top, white pants, or even the black pants. Just the white helmet looks so clean.
Yeah, I think the white helmet's really what makes it pop. And I love, if you notice something small that I like when teams do, is they change the color of the face mask. The fact that the face mask for me is black too and kind of blends in with the uniform is pretty cool. Um, yeah, I kind of like the uniforms personally. I like the second slide where it was the red. Well, which one was it?
Red and white helmet.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah, that's probably my favorite so far. Um, and we'll see on the first slide, it's if the helmet and the jersey are actually just different colors, or if it's just the way the lighting is, or if they used a filter. But no, I would say I'm a fan of these jerseys.
I can tell you that these are definitely the helmets from last year because I've seen all these before. But I don't know, like you mentioned, I don't know if they're getting new helmets or whatever, but we'll see what it looks like. My favorite uni definitely is that same exact one that you mentioned was the white helmets, red jerseys, and white bottoms. And I think that was my favorite, even with the last. Actually, no. This one's my favorite if the helmet's good because
Mhm.
I'm a fan of the white pants separating the cardinal tops and helmets because they used to do all cardinal. And no offense, that is just not. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't pop. It's bland. I'm happy. I don't know if you noticed, but they did go with a brighter shade of red on these new jerseys, and I think again it looks a lot cleaner and it pops more. I know some people complain about them having Iowa State over it, the stripes, the Nike swoosh, and then the Big 12 logo, making it look too busy with the stripes on the sides. But I think I don't know. Let me look up a photo of Iowa State's old unis. But I think that these look better than what Iowa State was wearing for the past couple of years. Of course, all that shows up is the Jack Trice uniforms that were not ideal. Um,
It- Still, like people can dislike those ones as much as they want, but those ones had a story. Those ones had a meaning behind it, which I think anytime you incorporate that with your jerseys, I think you automatically get a huge boost of my likeness for those jerseys
yeah,
when there's an actual like story or meaning that comes behind the jerseys.
it might be small, but these were the jerseys before, and I think they look bland. Everybody talks about the lightning bolt swoosh on the side right here, but like or the lightning bolt like trim around the edges. But I think it looks terrible because the uniform is usually tucked in anyways. So these are what the unis used to look like. And for those that are like, oh, it's too busy, um, it, I'm sorry, but it kind of looks busy up on the top as well. It's just the only difference is that the font's a little smaller, and instead of it being so dark, because I don't know, look at that red and then compare it to this red. I think this red looks a lot better.
That red's gonna pop more on field.
What would you rate these out of 10?
Show me each one again. So I saw the first
Okay.
one. The first ones I like those. Again, I trust you when you say the helmets. It's just a filter that they used. I'm gonna trust your
That's
gut
from
on
what
that.
that's what I've been told, and I've been lied to before, so who knows?
Like, for
But
the sake of this, I'm just gonna assume that it'll be better come
yep.
this fall. I really like those ones a lot.
Hmm.
I like the white on white look. The gold pants, I'm not really sold on quite yet. We'll see this fall, and then
Obviously, just the same white unis, but with red pants, and then the
right.
black with white helmets.
The black with white helmets for me is probably my personal favorite, other than the second one. I would say this is like a 7.5 out of 10 for me. It's just I gotta really see what they look like on the field for me to give my full
Hmm.
um opinion, especially with that helmet. If that helmet is two different shades of red than what the jersey is, then I might dislike them a little bit more, but I think overall good release.
That's I was gonna give it a 7.5 as well. I was like, it's not too bad, not unbelievable, but compared, I'm sorry, Iowa State fans, I'm sorry, you can argue
They
with the wall.
upgraded. They upgraded their
Compared to
jerseys for sure.
these, granted, this image is great because this used to be one of my favorite home unis combos because the helmet did have that, like you said, the different face mask. They used the
Mhm.
cardinal look, but this just pops way more. It just looks a lot better, in my personal opinion. But I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe as time goes on, that might go up if they add stuff to the pants in the future. I don't know, but the pants being kind of bland and nothingness is the thing that brings it down for me. However, these West Virginia unis are probably the best that I've seen coming out of the Big 12 so far. So the Cole unis, if you haven't seen them, look up the West Virginia Cole football unis. They're going to break those out. Definitely needs to be a night game. If they bring
Oh
those
yeah.
out during the day, that will be the worst debut of any jersey of all time. If you're a school that does not have black as a primary color and you break out the black unis for the first time ever or the first time in a long time during the day, you should never wear black again.
Yeah.
It's got to be a night game. Even
Uh,
like, go
Even
ahead.
whiteout for me.
Yeah, that's what I
Whiteout
was going to
needs to
say.
be a night game. Like when you think whiteout in college football, we all think of the same exact place. We all think of Penn State and that electric feel that they have when the entire student section, the entire fan base is in whiteout. And it just is more eye popping. And it's just, frankly, it's way cooler than if you do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or an 11 o'clock kickoff.
Real quick, can you still hear me? I think my mic.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought my mic got unplugged. But yeah, those are the unis that I want to talk about. We will definitely, I think, during the summer we're gonna do just random like uni. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll go through like
A
each
uniform
conference.
podcast.
Seriously, that's probably what this is going to be during the summer, unless we have like big NFL news to break. But
I propose a uniform draft. So
okay,
we take our favorite uniforms from across all sports. We do like a starting five of favorite uniforms.
okay, I like that idea. I like it. Uh, I already started thinking about some of my
Mm-hmm.
favorites of all time. We definitely have to do. Maybe we could do like one where it's like current uniforms, and then one like throwbacks or like
Right.
one offs or whatever. Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of unis. I think it's more NBA than it is any other league. That like their current unis are terrible compared to what they used to be at
Nike ruined
Raptors.
them.
Nike ruined them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
However, Nike has had some good ones, but
Oh yeah, the Miami
Miami,
Vice one
yes,
is
Miami
pretty. That
Vice
one is
is like
perfect. Don't
that
ever
one
mess with that one.
will always remain undefeated in the jersey world. But yeah, any final thoughts or comments before we sign off?
Um, I know this is an NFL podcast, but
Oh yeah,
for the 515 listeners,
oops.
um, Brock's team and my team are now playing in the second round of the NBA playoffs, and I fully expect my team to lose in 4 games to his Boston Celtics.
Even without
Should
Tingus,
Dude, Cleveland barely beat Orlando, bro. They were down 18 in the second quarter. Like it took a 40-point Donovan Mitchell game for them to
as
come
long as you
back.
guys get Dean Wade back, that's all
Dean
that matters.
Wade, we get Dean Wade back. It's over, but I think he's going to be out the series. I think he's still recovering from an injury in the end of the regular season.
I will say that I guess I don't know the injury situation for all the Cavs because Jared Allen was out right last
He's
night.
Jared's been out the last 3 games.
Okay, do you think what's the injury specifically?
I think it's a hip, or no, it's a
Okay,
rib. It's a rib. He injured his rib in the game 5 or game 4 when they lost in Orlando, and then they just held him out of every other game
okay.
since.
Um, if he plays, I actually do like Cleveland's chances to get a couple games because all you need to do is get Al Horford in foul trouble because then it's just Luke Cornett. Not that Luke Cornett isn't contributing good minutes to the Celtics
I was
because
gonna
he
say
actually
the
does.
corn test where he just jumps up with his arms up in the air.
It's the
I think
greatest contest in NBA basketball history of someone shooting a 3-point shot.
Wemby, take notes. Take notes, Wemby.
Seriously, if it's still going up, if it's still going up and Wemby just tips it, does that count as a block or is it goaltending?
I don't know. He needs
Um,
to do it and then see what the refs do, and then that's just gonna be my opinion.
we're, we'll do a longer episode on the NBA pod, the hardwood combos once the season gets over. But I have a good feeling that Teron Lue is going to LA, and I mean to the actual LA team because the Clippers aren't LA's team.
And I got a pretty good feeling LeBron's coming back to Cleveland, but
You do?
no.
Okay. Are you trying
Just
to say my idea is
I'm a
dumb?
whole no, it's not. If LeBron wants to stay, I think that's a great idea because I just don't think Darvin Ham was it. He had good moments for him, especially last playoff series or last playoff season.
Yeah.
I think he did good. This year, I think some of his rotations are confusing at sometimes. I know Lakers fans are screaming at Torian Prince every time he steps on the court, but
Yeah,
it's
he
not
started the
all.
last game, didn't he?
Yeah, it's not all on him. It was a collective effort why they lost in five. They lost to the defending champs. I don't really want to hear too much from the Lakers.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chase. Sorry.
What do you, early thoughts on the Nuggets Timberwolves series? Do you think that was a fluke yesterday or
I think Denver played about as bad as they could have and lost, but I think Minnesota didn't play a perfect game either. Like I know Ant had 40, and that's what everyone's going to talk about. And Nas Reed had some huge buckets in the second half. But I think this series is going 7. And
I think so
if
as
you would
well.
ask me before the series, who do I think is winning? I think Denver's going to win. With Minnesota taking that game 1, I mean that means if I'm doing my math right, I think 3 out of the next um, 5 games are at home in Minnesota.
If Indiana somehow upsets New York, even if New York wins, if I'm Boston, assuming Boston moves on, it's the NBA
Yeah.
playoffs, anything can happen. But assuming Boston moves on, I don't play Porzingis game 1, and if you win that, I don't play him game 2, and if you win that, I don't play him game 3 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Because
I would park him till the finals.
if you're going up against Minnesota or Denver or even Oklahoma City, even Dallas, like they all have decently good big guys, and
Mhm.
especially if it's Minnesota, like you're gonna need to have both Al Horford and Porzingis healthy in order to compete against them. Not that they wouldn't be able to beat Minnesota without Al Horford or Porzingis, but like it's not going to be easy if you only have one big guy that's decent. Because again, Luke Cornett can make some decent plays. It's just that he's not going to do Porzingis stuff, or Al Horford, who doesn't shoot for 3 straight games and then makes 3 threes in one game, just because that's just what Al Horford does.
I think any team that has to play Minnesota this playoff run is. I feel bad for them because Minnesota's probably the worst matchup for any team with the amount of centers that they have that they can throw at
And
another team.
people, including myself, used to make fun of that. When that trade was made, I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
you can't do this. It's old school basketball. It doesn't work anymore.
I thought the Timberwolves were going to do good this year, in the preseason and all that. I This was not in the realm of possibility for me. I thought they'll have a nice first round series. They'll lose in 6.
No, now they're contenders.
Now they're like they could knock
I
off the defending champs and potentially go to the finals.
I think team wise, they're the best team in the Western Conference put
They're the
together.
most complete.
Yes, most complete team in the Western Conference. Dallas talent wise may have more talent just because of the 2 stars that they
Mhm.
have. Oklahoma City has one elite guy, a really good guy, and then a bunch of okay guys depending on the game. Denver's weird because I don't outside of Jokic, like really outside of Jokic, I don't consider anybody like elite. Jamal Murray is good. I don't know if he's great because like he'll go like 1 of 10 in the first 3 quarters and then like not miss a shot in the fourth.
I was gonna say a lot of people. I know they hit 2 game winners on the Lakers, but people forget in that game too. He was like 8 of 20 or 8 of 25 in that game.
Yeah,
He was not shooting the ball very well. And in the last game that um he hit the buzzer beater, he wasn't shooting that well from the floor either. So Denver definitely is more beatable than I realized coming into the playoffs.
I think I could be wrong, but Hunter mentioned on our podcast on Saturday that, or I mean Friday night when we recorded it, that Denver I think only led like the games for like 9 minutes or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but like they gave up one game and they were only winning by 9 leading for 9 total minutes in the entire round. That's shocking to me.
I know the Lakers led that series for the majority, like of the actual games. They just didn't know how to close games. And maybe you run back the same team if you're the Lakers and you just switch coaches, and maybe that fixes your late game issues. But who knows? Who knows? This NBA playoffs is still really fun. You look at the Western Conference, and the Western Conference is a gauntlet. I mean, you could make an argument for any of those 4 teams to win the title. Then you look over the East, and it's a powder puff league over here. We know like the team that's going to go to the finals.
Hey. That 76ers Knicks series was unbelievable.
That was a very close series, but like, if you're the Knicks, the Pacers they might win a game or two, but like, if you're the Knicks, you got to win that series in 5 or 6. And if you're the Celtics, you got to win your series in 5 or 6. If you let in 5, I'm sorry, if you let Cleveland get 2 games off you,
the longer those series last for each team, whoever gets their series done the quickest is going to benefit the most from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure who, like, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know who I would want to play more. Because, yeah, the Knicks are going to have that fan base. Because, good Lord, when they're good, that fan base is unbelievable. But they don't have a very good post presence. And without Julius Randle. And I don't know. Part of me kind of wants to see Porzingis go up against them over Porzingis going up against Miles Turner. But that's just me.
Plus, you have the homecoming aspect of Porzingis going back to New York.
Ooh, he has a chance to do something funny.
He does.
Oh, like game 6, clinching game, puts up like 40. Oh, that the script's out, man. The script's out. Porzingis in the game to go to the finals is going to have like 40 points in New York.
Yep.
The script's out. But yeah, we'll definitely have to do a podcast later this week involving the NBA. Talk a little bit about on and off the court situations, because obviously moves are being made by certain teams already, by head coaches and stuff like that. But yeah, any final comments outside of the Cavaliers losing in 4 to the Celtics?
5. We're gonna win 1. I think we take game 2 or 3, and I think it's over.
I'd put more. If I was a betting man, I'd be more confident in the Cavaliers winning in Boston than winning in Cleveland, because for some reason Boston is terrible at home in the playoffs, even though they were they got to January or February without losing a game at home. Mm-hmm. They just can't win at home in the playoffs, but on the road, it's game pretty much. They for some reason are unbelievable on the road. I think they have a losing record in the last 2 playoffs at home, which is
I think so too,
mind-blowing.
Because was the Sixers series last year where they lost a home game or 2?
Yep.
The Heat series, they lost a couple home games. And you guys obviously lost 1 home game this past series against Miami, but
yep.
We will see.
As long as Dean Wade's not playing, we'll be good.
I think you're in luck. I don't think he's going to be playing this series. Now, if something changes, I think Cavs in 4. But
no, because again, the Celtics don't lose on the road, so Cavs in 7.
Oh shoot, my bad.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. We might take a week off on this podcast and then figure out a little bit of what we're going to do for the off season. Again, like Dawson said, we're probably going to do a lot more jersey rankings, maybe some tier lists depending on the day or depending on how we're feeling. But we'll definitely have more NBA podcasts coming out as the playoffs continue to ramp up here and heading into the semifinals. But yeah, for Dawson Livingston, I'm Brock Beirman. We are the Sports Nerds here on the 515 Podcast Network. Make sure to follow all of our socials on X, Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we'll be back probably sometime next week or 2 weeks from now with another Sports Nerds episode. But for sure, sometime this week we'll have a Hardwood Convos episode. So for Dawson Livingston, I'm Brock Beirman. We're signing off.